Was that okay? Like, did I talk too much?
No, I mean, like, you talked the whole time, but you weren't, it wasn't like you weren't saying anything. It was good. I thought it was fine, because I'm about to do a whole lot of talking, unless you're going to interrupt me a bunch.
In the first aeon, I was the Great Spirit. In the second aeon, men knew me as the Horned God, Pangenitor, Panphage. In the third aeon, I was the Dark One, the Devil. In the fourth aeon, men knew me not, for I am the Hidden One. In the fifth aeon, I appeared before you as Baphomet, the God before all gods, who shall endure to the end of the earth. In this new aeon, I appear to you as CMN.
Imagine that there is a brilliant white light just above.
Is commentary on the magic art.
In the year of the primal force, in the dawn of terrestrial birth.
Oh, that was very educational.
Now magic will take place. Don't be fooled by what I just said.
Welcome, everyone. I am Seven Monads Kennedy, and this is Chaos Magic News, the objectively best occult podcast on the net today. Joining me, as always, is my hermetic co-host, the Temple of Solomon Grundy. How are you, Temple of?
I was built on a Monday. That's all I got. The lesser key of Solomon Grundy.
You doing well, though, for real?
Yeah, I'm doing just fine. How are you?
I'm a little tired.
Are we going to talk about it?
I don't know. Are we going to talk about it?
Listeners, you may believe, because you are looking at the number of the episode and the fact that it says episode 61 and all of this, but I'm just going to tell you, this is not actually episode 61. This is like episode 61.5 or something like that. We had an episode, and Local was there, and Brooke was there, and Coco was there, and you were there, and you were there, and it was the bee's knees. It was everything that you could want out of an episode. There were laughs, there were deep thoughts, there were references to episodes that are so old that most of our listeners probably haven't actually heard them. We talked about the exceeding amount of news that we hadn't been able to touch on because of the Jack Frostcast and the special that came right on its heels. So we did a lot. It was going to be great. You would have loved it.
Would have being the operative word.
Yeah. We cannot show you that episode. There is no episode to show because
in the hubris, the gods saw our hubris and struck us down like Icarus.
Yeah. Clean Feed went completely tits up on us, and what I think might have been one of the funniest episodes we've ever had is just gone.
It's just left the planet.
Yeah, it's not even like lost media, you know? It's not like, oh man, we can recover it. It's not. That bitch is gone. Yeah. Dead.
It will never return. Man cannot step into the same river twice.
So instead, picking up the pieces, wiping the tears from our eyes, you have Kennedy and I giving you something completely different. We're not even going to try to reproduce the episode.
No, it was a moment in time and it was gone.
When you kick that golf ball, or however the hell you play golf, into that sand pit, sometimes you try to call a mulligan and see if you can do it over again. Sometimes you just get in there with those worms and you play ball. You go through the sports metaphor. Touchdown.
When an episode of your podcast, falls right into a volcano, fuck it, man, it's gone.
So there you go. We're very sorry, listeners. You would have loved it.
So instead, our opening discussion today is going to be a sort of an open-ended question. I asked co-host this the other day, because the thought occurred to me, and I think we're just going to talk about it now here.
What's the deal with airline food?
What's the deal? What's the deal with people hating Israel?
God damn.
Sorry. I just hate Jerry Seinfeld so much. So the question I think I'll ask to the listeners first, and just ponder this for a moment. Why don't you do magic for the things you really want in life?
It's kind of a loaded question, isn't it?
It is a loaded question, because I'm sure plenty of people are listening to this going, I do stuff for the magic I want. I do magic for the things I want in life. But do you?
Now, my answer to that really comes down to an examination of what really want means. On some level, what I really want is to be able to eat like fried chicken for dinner every night and not get a heart problem. You know, like, or like, you know, example, I picked up like vaping for a little bit as just like a vice to get me through some nonsense. And it was a bad idea. Shouldn't have done it. And now I'm in the process of like, I've dropped it and now I have to deal with the cravings. It's nothing insane, but you know, I'd really, really love to just be able to puff cyberpunk nicotine fumes all day, every day and not have it do anything bad to me ever.
But it's going to.
You know?
Same thing as eating fried chicken every single day.
Yeah,
Same thing as like getting drunk all the time.
Yeah, getting drunk all the time. You know, a lot of times what the very base desires we have of like what we really want are absurdities, and we understand that. Or they're things that it's like, yes, it would be great to eat nothing but chicken wings and drink beer, but that's bad. You know, that is ultimately not going to be a fulfilling. It's not going to really make you feel very good by the end of it. In the same way that if you did magic for every little petty instance, and worse yet, if it worked. Because one, you already know just by law of averages, you're not going to get everything. So now you would expend a lot of energy to only get some of the things, and then most of the things that you got would not really amount to much. So there's always that argument of like examining motivations, like what you really want. It's like, well, so that means that you reserve in the same way that like, you know, you save your money for the things that really matter, or you save your time for the things that really matter in your life. You know, you conserve whatever you have as far as doing like your woo-woo shit. It's like you don't do that just so that you can get a chicken sandwich. Because then the other end of it too is that there's a lot of stuff that you can get that you don't really need magic for.
We've had Chris Hyatt on the brain for reasons, so I just have this quote stuck in my head. And we've said it on the show before. Chris Hyatt said it in an interview. You will often find that doing real magic is a lot harder than just getting off your fat ass and going to the store to get a loaf of bread.
Quite often you'll run into things that are just, it's not that you couldn't do like a spell for it or some kind of ritual working or something like that, or shoot a sigil off. You know, sometimes there's even something to be said about doing magic for things that you know, or like, you know, maybe it's not hard, but it's like, it can't hurt. Hedging
yourself.
No, hedging your bets, that sort of thing. Giving yourself, it's like, well, you know what? I'll try out for this, but I'll also do some magic on the end. You know, that's arguably how you should be doing all of your stuff, is like you should ensure there's a great chance of success in every way you can. But quite often, if we're talking desires, it's like, man, I want a 6-piece McNugget with the sweet and sour sauce. Do I need to do magic for that? It's not, is it worth it? And then you can extrapolate that to all sorts of stuff. If you needed to get like a car loan or something, the only time you would really probably need to consider doing magic for your auto loan is if you got really fucking bad credit. For the most part, you should be able to look at that number, look at your income and be like, okay, yeah, this is what the bank will reasonably give me. And I talked about doing magic to find a good deal on a car, that sort of thing. And, you know, so that's an example, but that's finding something. That's, you know, in the same way that of like, if you were looking for buried treasure or something, there's a lot of demons that are good for that, apparently. So many that they made it illegal to do in Pennsylvania. Even then, those are very mundane. So then when we start getting to the ideas of what things that people really, really want. And then there's the question of like, say you really, really want like somebody to love you or something like that. Now you're a skeevy weirdo because you did magic trying to make somebody to love you. And I don't mean like I don't mean somebody in like the big sense. I mean like if you like that, it's like I'm going to do a spell to make that barista at Starbucks finally respond to my advance.
That called me creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always a weird one. But then it's like, what happens when you're like, man, what do I really want? How about like a just world where people's basic needs are met? Things like that. Now it's like, man, yeah, I could do magic for that.
Is it going to work?
What are the chances? It's like there's a lot of ifs and
there's
buts.
a lot of places to go with that one in particular, I think, because the few articles that we have put out that I thought were worth reading, one of them was about the use of magic for political, revolution for one, but the idea of any sort of like political aims with magic, and ultimately the idea of a just world's like a political aim.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just how's it working for the Knights of Chaos? How long has Ukraine been at war with Russia?
I told you, it's because they have Alexander Dugin, who extended his auric field at the very border of Russia and said, didn't ask plus ratio plus true will.
This is completely off the subject, but you remember how David Griffin talks about how he was like, I used my magic to make myself the lightning rod to protect Trump, and it killed my dog.
And it killed my dog.
Is that what it was? Did Alexander Dugin's daughter get blown up because he was protecting Putin from the Knights of Chaos?
You see, that would require me to say that they successfully got
something.
Like they did something. Like I don't think they did anything, my friend. It's that issue of like, because then you look at like the real big things, like what are the real big goals you want in your life? And sometimes you have to ask yourself, it's like, are you avoiding those big things in your life because you're afraid you're gonna fail? What if I do magic to like finally get this job, or like, say I have a business I want to get off the ground or something like that, or those sort of things. And it's like, what if I do magic and then it doesn't work?
Yeah.
Or worse yet, it's like, what if I get it and then it's like, oh no, I thought I wanted this.
Or worse, what if I use magic to get it, and then because because it was some magic and not me, I like fuck it all up?
Yeah.
What if I did magic to get the dream job that I wanted, and it turns out I'm incompetent at the dream job I wanted?
What if it turns out that the fantasies of what I really wanted were things that were very safe in my head, and then when I finally got them, I crumbled? I guess there's always that thing of like looking at your motivations and figuring out what you really, really want. And then sometimes what you really, really want is such a complicated mess of things that it's like, man, where would you even start?
That's my number one criticism, I think, of this, is that the reason most people aren't doing magic for the things they really want in life, and I firmly believe that. I think most people are doing magic for
goobery stuff.
Well, I'm not even gonna judge them on that level. I mean, you know what, it's goobery stuff. That's what I think it is. But I'm trying to be nice here. I'm trying to give people an actual criticism that they might want to look at in their work. A lot of people are using magic for A, spiritual insight and mysticism, B, get things that they want in the moment. I need a new job, so I want the new job. I need to magic up $400 for the rent. I'm doing magic for it. Or I'm doing magic so I can, chase my holy guardian angel. I'm doing magic so I can have interesting visions and experiences and so forth. And the reason for that is that those are things that people find desirable. They're not the things that you really want in life. I think that a lot of the people that are really down on the first part of that, the magic and mysticism part, are spiritual seekers. They're people that want to have some sort of, I don't know what the word is, some sort of correspondence, some sort of experience, some sort of direct connection to the divinity in their life. I don't necessarily think that that's what they want out of life, though. You know what? A great example here, because you were talking earlier, I want to make somebody really love me. I want to make the barista who works at the Starbucks that I asked out 47 times, who has turned me down every single time. I want them to love me. But you don't want to do that, right? Because you'd feel skeevy, as you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people have some sort of hang up, because that's the best word I can come up with here without going into like deeper psychological terms, and I don't really want to. They have a hang up with the idea of, I have learned all of these esoteric secrets and knowledge and techniques, and I would feel bad if I was just using them to get things that I want out of life. it would feel wrong for me to use it to get a Bugatti.
It's a bit of Manly P. Hall magic powers and why you shouldn't use them.
Yes. Hey, great. I forgot about that. That's precisely the sort of thing
I mean,
I'm
Grant
talking
Morrison said it. Grant Morrison said in the disinfo thing, it's like when you figure out magic works, you feel a little sleazy just using it to get laid, you know? But it's lots of examples. So there's that notion. There's that notion of like, it would be wrong to use this for certain things. Now, and here's the other question though. Say you did magic and it's like, I'm going to do magic so that I can become somebody that this fucking barista will like, you know? And then you go through all this magical journey and inner transformation and self, and now you're not like a creepy weirdo that doesn't bathe. Now you've got
you're a creepy weirdo that has a haircut.
Yeah, now you got a haircut and you got that new fit, and like you learn to step outside of yourself a little bit and open up, and now hey, maybe this person actually does kind of like you. Do you feel so bad? Is it just this note? Does it comes down to a sense of like everybody has a will and you don't want to step on it? But then it's like, you know, because now we're going into arguments of like, well, if you use magic to get a job, you might have arguably taken that job from someone who didn't use magic. Maybe they were the better candidate, but you woo-wooed your way into it.
Yeah, this really comes down to a silly argument.
I won't say it's silly. It's something that it's a line that you have to wrestle with and figure out where you really stand on things.
Well, no, I think it's silly because they're actually the same problem here. It's this idea that if I can do magic, that it is somehow
not fair.
Yes, it's this privileged, powerful thing that I can do, and suddenly all of my skill and effort to do all this stuff has some sort of moral failing in the face of like, oh, well, she only loves me because I did magic to make her love me. I only got the job because I did magic to get the job.
But that personality type is going to find something for anything. Man, she only loves me because she doesn't know the real shitty things about me, or she only loves me because I've got this, or I've got a nice house, or I've got money.
You may think she loves you for your money, but I know what she really loves you for. It's your brand new leopard skin pillbox hat. Sorry,
boy.
Bob Dylan.
But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's like that. So on a certain level, there's that too, and then even bringing it back into more motivation-y sort of stuff. I think often the mysticism and comes down to this idea of like you're going to find the true will. That's one that comes. Thelema has you know, infected a lot of magical thinkers that are not just Thelemites. You know, it's like if I can find out what my higher self wants, or my true will, or if I can align, you know, on another level, if I can align my will with the universal will, then I'll know the things that are, I guess like a real biblical sort of example. It's like Solomon only asked for one thing.
Right.
You know, I just want the knowledge to do your will. There is a thought process or a 3 lines of logic that really does conform with that sort of thing. The idea that it's like, well, if I find out what I really want, like if I find out that huge one, then I can go for that. And then everything I can do is going to be about this super important thing. And then that way I can sort of hold myself to this higher standard. And I think on a certain level, what I am coming to terms with in chaos magic is that we are always existing at a crossroads at every moment. We are always in between something, in between two big somethings. You know, whatever division you can set in your head between point A and point B or whatever. And no, you're perpetually at the center forever. You know, the Gordon White, forever in the airport, I suppose, is that if we accept the groundlessness of our existence, accept the arbitrary nature of how we exist, and we understand that at best, what we are doing is imposing a moral value assessment on something at any given moment in any current situation, and we are always weighing the context, then you can, I'm not going to say like accept or be okay with everything that's going on with you, but perhaps that is a better way of going about things than trying your damnedest to figure out what you're really supposed to be doing. Do you know what I mean? Why aren't you doing magic for what you really, really want? It's like, well, maybe there isn't a thing that I really, really want. Maybe it's just as arbitrary as everything else. And I can aspire to bigger things. I should never let my fear of failure or my fear of success or or even the fear of how impossible and unlikely something is should never be the reason that you don't do something. If it feels worthwhile to you, at least, it should never stop you. But also to realize that in the grand scheme of humanity, there are people that have failed harder than you will ever fail and succeeded probably more than you will ever succeed, at least in one standard or another. And that there are people that have failed harder than you ever have in your life and have come back from it. There are people who have lost the thing that they thought they wanted most and found something new. And like I said, you are the liminal being. You are the one who is forever at the crossroad. You are the fool of the tarot, my friend. The infinite potentialities spiral out from you at every given moment. And maybe just go with that.
I'll use another. I'll twist the llama back on itself, I guess. Your nature is going. Your nature is Hadith. You are that which continues onward. If Will stops and asks why, then, I mean, you know the rest. If you don't know, go read the Book of the Law, I guess, or something. I think what is often missed in these quests for larger metaphysical, spiritual senses of purpose is exactly what you're talking about. The way in which we are always in a shifting world in which we attempt to impose our will upon. That's what being a magician is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the space age, and we're here to go.
That'll
make sense later.
I think there's something to be said about authenticity. I think there's something to be said about finding yourself in this world, and this is Heidegger talk, but where we fundamentally feel like we're not at home in it. We feel like there's something wrong. We have anxiety about the fact that we know that there's nothing. And all the Thelemites can disagree with me here, but I think the recognition of true will has always been a sort of Nietzschean thing. It's not about aligning yourself with some sort of God's plan, right? You're not here to get your holy guardian angel to show up and say, hey, I'm going to tell you what the world is like and where you fit in it, and I'm going to show you why you're special.
Your true will is just the thing where it's like, hey, why do I exist? To pass me that butter? Oh, God.
Yeah, no, it's not that. It's a recognition of the limits of your incarnation, your place within the world that you've been given, and what the right thing for you to do is. And that involves having values, that involves doing things, that involves being a person, and that involves working towards your goals. For everyone out there who's like, I've been trying to find my holy guardian angel and understand my true will for about 15 years now, and you've done the Abramelin 17 times and it didn't work yet, and you're like, this next time I'm really going to do it. I'm going to hole up in a cabin in the woods, and I got my buddy Marco bringing me food. It's going to be great. I'm going to really do it this time. I think you're missing the point.
Just give up.
Just give up.
You suck. You failed, old man.
Not in that sort of way. Just
you didn't get your true will after 15 years? Loser. Going into the Buddhist monastery going, you guys still aren't enlightened? Dorks.
Can't fucking believe this. God. You guys are useless. Give me that sutra. And you just wipe your ass with it. The Tathagata once said.
Actually, you probably try that at a Zen thing, and they'd be like, oh, yeah, you're about it. You're right. You're fucking right. And the minute you went like, huh, wait, what do you mean I'm right? They'd smack you on the head and say, I knew you were full of it. I knew you were lying. Go sit in the corner over there. Come back when you're ready.
I don't know.
Like I say, it was an open-ended question, and it just let us go to a couple different spots.
Yeah, I think that's good enough.
Good enough. You spent $20 on this?
I spent like 13.
Oh, okay. I was going with the price on the thing. This is a really shit quality DVD cover.
I
This
mean,
was like
it's like
some
a picture of Chris
yeah.
Hyatt taken on like a phone camera from the 2000s.
Yeah, it's rough looking.
Listeners, we mentioned Chris Hyatt earlier, and we just got a Chris Hyatt DVD that I bought.
Because some asshole fucking copyright struck something off of YouTube. The whole video used to be up there on YouTube where he goes like, I can't get a hamburger from McDonald's despite the fact that I have 2 9th degrees, you know, talking about how like, yeah, magic initiation doesn't amount to dick. But like, it's great. It's funny. And I wanted to be able to fucking, but they took it off of YouTube. Probably because New Falcon Press are a bunch of greedy fucks. I get it.
I don't.
Isn't his son in charge of it now? Like, didn't he steal it out from under him when he was on his deathbed?
Something like that. It's really bad. I know it was bad enough that like a lot of people that worked for Falcon Press just left.
I mean, the problem is too of like just about like is New Falcon Press doing anything, or are they just like squatting on?
There's a bunch of stuff you can still buy from them.
With Richard Wardell. That's crazy, because I remember listening to this, and it basically sounds like, I swear to God, I thought it was Hyatt talking to himself.
Well, hell yeah, we're going to rip the fuck out of that.
Put it back on YouTube where it belongs.
We should. Like, just upload it to the main channel.
Don't make any money off of the YouTube channel. Fuck it.
And now it's time for everyone's favorite segment.
What segment is that?
The ending.
The credits. No. It's the part of the show where we roll up our sleeves, we take a deep breath, and we invoke journalistic excellence. And we ask, what's in the news?
What is in the news indeed? Everything. Everything
Just
happened.
Everything. Every motherfucking thing. The only good thing about the original episode, Committing Seppuku, is that we have even more news to talk about now.
Oh my God.
I know. Lightning round?
Is this my curse in life? Am I doomed to review shitty news? Shitty news! Shitty news! Yeah, lightning round. The government shut down, and it's open again.
The longest shutdown, only rivaled by the one from before last time. So
Yeah.
These shutdowns are probably just going to get longer and longer and uglier and uglier. But don't worry, because the Democrats are going to cave every time.
What did they get out of this? Nothing.
Like absolutely nothing. They got the promise of a vote, of an extension of the Obamacare subsidies, which is what this fight started over. So they got a promise that is not on paper. It's like actually. So it's like very real possibility they're not going to get a vote on it. And even if they got in a vote, there was no guarantee it was going to pass.
And with the way their membership acts, then like, yeah, the Republicans could have promised like, yeah, we'll do it. And then they would have shot themselves in the foot anyway.
Yeah. It's very important to remember that this happened them caving happened in the wake of the November first week of November's elections. So there was a notable swing left in pretty much all categories. Notably, Mamdani fucking swept the leg, man.
Yeah, dude.
Kicking ass, taking names.
He put him in a fucking body bag.
Yeah, everybody freaking the fuck out saying New York has fallen because like the socialist is going to be mayor, you know?
Well, hey, some of them are mad he's Muslim. It's not just
some of them are
hating
mad
socialism.
Some of them are mad that he's a leftist. Some of them are mad that he's brown.
Some of them are mad that his wife's hot.
Yep.
I'm one of them.
But this man had the propaganda machine and tons of money. He was definitely outgunned in every case. It's simply the fact that his policies were popular that he won.
And that his competition was absolutely deplorable.
Yeah. Yeah, the absolute worst people that they could have run, which is the textbook game of Democrats, but also Republicans ain't too shabby neither. So you ran people that were god-awful with somebody who had popular, who, very, very typical stuff of like, rent's too damn high, you know?
Yeah.
Cost of living is crazy.
All
but
the
we're gonna do
basic working class helping positions that we talk about all the time being
that the by and large
completely
the
off
establishment,
guard.
yeah,
Completely
by and
off
large,
limits.
the by and large the Democratic establishment will not touch these things, or not. These are things you cannot say. Otherwise, you are branded as a heretic, and they'll do everything in their power to keep you from getting elected. And they couldn't even do that, because you got to remember, the one thing that Democrats are really good at is losing. They're very practiced. So yeah, covering two birds with one stone here. That notable elections across the entire country, Democrats were gaining territory, gaining votes. People are notably sick of Trump and the current administration, and
particularly younger progressive candidates obviously did very well.
But it's not just that. It's the testament to how unpopular this current administration is becoming, because they just keep taking L after L after L and doing horrible, fucked up stuff. And the thing is, if they had an actual opposition party, this person, like these folks would be in trouble.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. These folks would be in trouble. Like, it would be bad. It would be bad times to be in the Trump administration. But instead, the Democratic Party is, they're actually collaborators, is the ultimate thing, is that they serve Das Kapital. If they come out against any of these things too strongly, they lose their corporate backers. They are very comfortable with bad things happening to you and me, the people that work for a living and actually have to live in the hellscape world that, these fuckers don't even go to the DMV, They don't know what your problems are. They don't care. They want you to shut up, and they feel like they're entitled to your vote and support.
No. We have a strong voice in Congress. And that voice is the voice of the Baileys in Chuck Schumer's head.
Yeah.
Chuck Schumer's imaginary friends, the Baileys, are sitting there telling him, "You better cave, Chuck. People are sad. Give them something to be happy about. Just cave. Kiss his shoes a little bit."
So there you go. Chuck Schumer tried to act like he didn't know anything about this, and it's very obvious that he did. Overall, you get the sense that the Democratic Party, it was like somebody had to be the bad guy in this, because they could not allow this to go on. They had to make enough of a stink to make you think. And that's the problem, is that it's like, to say that the entire Democratic Party is compromised to the extent that they will cave on everything all the time, everywhere, doesn't make sense in the light of, like, this was the longest shutdown we've had ever.
Right.
It's like, what do you mean? But there is a concerted core, a rotten, disgusting core of of the Democratic Party, who ultimately is going to cave, is going to collaborate, is totally fine with the fact that ICE is rounding up people and Israel is committing genocide. And, all of these horrible things that we try to lay at the feet of the Republican Party and be like, look at how horrible and inhumane they are. And it's like, well, there's a big faction of the Democratic Party that is totally fine with all of that. What they really are not okay with is you complaining so much. They want you to shut the fuck up.
What they're really not okay with is anyone, especially people who are ostensibly in their party, coming out with ideas like, maybe we should try to make life livable for the working class.
And again, it's because these people feel entitled to your vote on the grounds of we are not Trump. That has been the party line for the last, 12 years? We are not Trump, so you should vote for us. These people are a threat to democracy. These people are so bad. These people eat babies and blah, 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 and they're going to ruin the country. And what are you doing to stop it? Nothing. We're not doing anything to stop it, but you're supposed to vote for us.
But we're not doing it. They are doing it, listener. They are.
Yeah. If we were in charge, this wouldn't be happening, except it did happen. It happened under the Biden administration.
Yeah. The groundwork of all of this was laid by the Obama administration, and before that, the Bush administration, and then the Clinton administration.
Yeah. It's
just the same thing over and over again, consolidating power and further fucking the common citizen of this country.
At the behest of the people that give them a lot of money.
what are they going to do? Well, they'll put on a daishiki and kneel for a photo. Yeah, they'll give the longest filibuster in the history
about why
of
something's super bad. Yeah. You know, what's the word for that? Performative.
Pretty much.
Yeah. That's what they'll do. They'll talk about how the baby crushing machine is so awful, and even when their hand is on the button that could stop it, they won't. That's all it comes down to. This is why, you know, again, we suggest looking at what's directly in your sphere of influence, figuring out ways to divest from the consumer hell machine we're all hooked up to. And also things like this, because if you can get lower levels of government stacked with people that align with you, you will have a much better time at taking shots at the larger establishment. At this point, I do not think that electoralism is going to be able to save us.
Yeah, I have no real faith in Zoran Mamdani or
no, but I do
Abu.
think you can tilt axes in ways that make the situation slightly more bearable for people.
Well, in just ways that are at least possibly strategically valuable in some way.
And also doing it in ways that can allow for a greater chance for actual leftist causes to take root. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Because I don't see a leftist revolution happening in my lifetime, you know?
No, not at all.
Don't see it happening. We don't have the groundwork for it. We don't have the infrastructure. So instead, we have to ask questions about, like, how are you going to keep people alive while we figure this out? And that's what I've got. Not to get too depressing. That's where I'm at on this thing.
Yeah.
So a bit of good with the election results. It shows that it reminds you that these ideas are not the impossible, idealistic, niche ideas that you're always led to believe. These are things that are largely popular. And then also on the bad hand is a reminder that the Democrats, you know, the left and the right wing are attached to the same fucking bird. You can't count on these people for shit. And also, not only did they not get anything, but they managed to sneak. They always do this. The funding bills that come through, they always sneak bullshit into it. So it's like the hemp industry is now getting put over a barrel. All of those like lovely gas station bullshit things that you see next to the rhino pills, those are going to get phased out, closing that loophole. Because ultimately, you know, Johnny Walker couldn't make money off of it, I guess. You know, so you're taking money away from our alcohol sales. So, like, we're going to take that away. And then also deregulation of food safety. So, you know, got to enjoy throwing up. Let's hear it for throwing up.
Yay, E. coli.
Yeah. More, you know, food poisoning is really cool. Plastic. You know, you're already eating microplastics. Let's just macroplastics.
I'm plastic maxing, Brend.
Yeah, plastic maxing. And then a couple things like, you know, like, hey, if you were investigated and accosted by that whole January 6th thing, you can sue the government now. You know, shit like that. But Democrats can't sneak anything in at all. You know, they can't they can't put anything that's going to, but we can always manage to sneak something that makes it slightly more inconvenient and for the working class, or, you know, like, you know, yeah. Man, I know those edible little gummy things probably help you sleep, but fuck you, right? You know
it will help you sleep if you work 70 hours at your second job.
Yeah, like I said, the only thing the Democrats didn't manage to get into this, and I'm not throwing the shutdown at their feet. I'm throwing everything that comes out of this at their feet, though, because again, you caved. Bunch of fucking pussies. That's the thing. It's like, I don't know if it's worse. I don't know if they're pussies and cowards or if they're just evil. And it's both is the thing. It's both. So yeah, that's that in a nutshell. Oh yeah. They just announced it. Southern Spear. So like to distract from all of the domestic unrest, we have to start another widely unpopular military conflict. But this time a lot closer to home.
Hey, I know we listened to your feedback. We and this administration love you. We understand you didn't want another conflict in the Middle East. How about a little closer to home?
Yeah. So they're gonna. I mean, this is gonna. Oh, it's the bottom line of like, oh man, we're gonna stop the drug dealers.
We're gonna shoot anyone that's in a boat south of the country. That's what this operation is.
What if we just killed random fishermen?
I'm going to go put a boat out there, just float it out there and watch it get obliterated. Put a GoPro on it.
That'd be a fun experiment of like, put a boat out in the middle of the ocean and see how long it takes before they bomb it. you just put a flag on it that's got like the pirate skull and it says drugs. The fentanyl Johnny.
You put not drugs.
Not drugs. Yeah.
Oh, that's definitely drugs.
Just fill it with mannequins with like peg legs. It's like they were trying to distract us from something. I can't imagine what they would be trying to distract us from, though. I don't get it.
You know what's really cool?
What?
Blowjobs. I don't know why I'm thinking that. A large swath of emails of Jeffrey Epstein and various people were released by the Democrats and the Republicans for some reason.
Yeah, that's a little odd.
I think it's probably incompetence. I think they probably tried to scrub all the bad shit they could find, but they're just bad at it.
Trump is named in like something like over half of these emails, right?
Yeah, they're like talking about him constantly, saying very,
they just love him.
Very things that people are trying to say, well, this doesn't mean that. But anyone who has a sense of decency and reality knows that this is talking about Donald Trump engaging in and knowing about sexual behaviors with underage women, courtesy of Jeffrey Epstein. That's not even the biggest thing that he did, because we all know everyone assumes that he did this already. Like, Trump diddled some little kids. Whatever, I'm not surprised by that.
Hey, Megyn Kelly said it. This isn't like, it's not like it's 8-year-olds. This is like, this is like 15-year-olds. It's like not the same thing. It's totally.
What was it that she said? Like women that look young and could pass for younger? Is that what she said? Something like that?
Okay, here's the thing, all right? When you remember that these people do not have any real sense of morals and that they are going to do whatever they can to justify it, couch it in terms that make it a little more like, even if it's bad, even if it's god awful, they're going to try to make it just a little bit less bad. That's all they can do. They cannot, not for them to have the actual fortitude to come out and be like, man, I was wrong. I need to get off of this train. This is fucked. The ship has sailed. It's far too late for all of them. They're all locked in and committed. So you are going to watch people, the same people that railed and wailed and all this stuff about how bad it was and won't somebody think of the children when it came to anything related to gay people or trans or blah, blah, blah. That when the sitting president, the best case, I remember the thing, somebody put it on Blue Sky, I think, where it was like the best case scenario is that he knew about a pedophilia ring and did nothing, That's the best case, is that he knew about it and still didn't do anything. And the worst case is that he was an active participant. And meanwhile, that doesn't matter because these people are, and I won't go like, oh, these people have no morals. They don't stand for anything. They don't. But the worst part is that they've spent, it's like, man, we have spent far too long tying our harnessing our hopes to this guy. So now we can't go back against him because he's in control. This is a man who's in the midst of an authoritarian takeover. You can't come out against him now or you're fucked.
You can't come out against him or you're fucked. And if he gets out of office and gets thrown out of power, you're fucked.
Yeah, it's not going to be good enough.
Well, because if they get rid of him, they're going to get rid of everybody. They're going to be putting heads on pikes.
So, that's kind of the thing. It's watching, it's sunk cost fallacy, political edition. Ultimately, nothing is probably going to come of this. They might as well they could put all of the files online right now and you could look, they could put a database of just like, how many times did this person's name show up in the Epstein files, and nothing was going to happen. Because the people that are in a position to prosecute and force the issue are the people that are on the list. The calls are coming from inside the house.
But we can take solace in one thing. Things were revealed in this current document leak or document release. Things we didn't expect. Because I will, if you even have the gall to claim that you thought that this happened, I will come to your house and spit on your feet and call you a liar, call you a fiend.
Yeah.
Allegedly, Donald Trump blew Bill Clinton? That's what they're saying?
How did that come up?
I don't remember the context of it. It's just that he says something about him blowing Bubba, and the implication is that Bubba is Bill Clinton.
Well, the actual hold on, because shout outs to I Acknowledge Psychedelic Warfare, because an old hand of the internet with great ideas and great writing chops. Just a great person to throw out just some thoughts, Best thing about the "oh my God, Donald Trump blew Bill Clinton," according to the Epstein emails, is that it was Jeff's still living brother, Mark, who asked the question. This means that journalists, probably many of them, are going to call up Mark Epstein and ask what he meant. What does he know about it? Are there photos and like all of these? It's like this man is about to get his door beat down. With so many people going, "What did you mean by this?" And I'm sure he is. I'm sure the apple probably doesn't fall too far from the tree in the Epstein family, so he's probably not a great guy either.
Oh, I thought you meant he was going to mysteriously have an accident.
Oh, he might. I mean, like, you guys will know when the Epstein files are actually getting very close to being released, because somebody is going to die in like an explosion.
Well, I don't think they're ever going to get released.
You'll know if they're getting any closer than they are now, because like people will actually start dying.
Yeah, there will be fake suicides and probably actual suicides.
Meanwhile, Epstein's girl Friday is going to have her sentence commuted, and she's being treated like a fucking queen in prison. So like, it shows you how much they really give a shit about punishing these people.
Oh yeah. Lightning rounding this one. Trump pardon Santos. You guys remember Santos? He's a piece of shit. He got pardoned.
Just nothing to be said about it. There's actually an amount of pardons that are coming out that are just absurd. And then when people are calling him out it, Trump admitted that he doesn't really know all of the people he's pardoning, and he's just going off of what people tell him. So he's got his cronies, his little toadies, just like handing him stuff and saying, "Like, sign this, Donnie. We're pardoning this guy." And he's like, "What'd he do?" "Don't worry about it."
Nothing. Just like you, Donnie. You didn't do nothing wrong. I love you.
He owned the libs too hard, Donnie. You got to let him go.
What else? What else has happened in the interim?
One of those things, just bringing it up. I'm going to bring up her specifically to present a larger thing going on. Kat Abu Ghazali, she is currently running to be in the House of Representatives for Illinois' 9th Congressional District. Big progressive. Got indicted, obstruction, something like that, right? Because of her involvement in the anti-ICE protests that have been going on. It's notable that the indictment happened, and the next thing I saw with her was her organizing a big backlot event for Halloween. She was in costume. She was showing like she was getting people to register to vote. She was trying to get people to sign up to donate bone marrow and donate blood and do this and do that. Making Chicago dogs. Didn't look like it fazed her in the fucking slightest. So it's like one of those that, do I think electoralism is going to solve this problem? Probably not. But I do have a fondness for people that are going to get in the streets, stand up, and then when they get swatted, they smile and ask for more, Yeah, is that the best you've got? Ain't shit gonna happen to this woman. At least I hope so. And it shows that there is a certain level of just balls, I guess, courage, that is overtaking a lot of folks right now that are in these cities that are getting ransacked, basically. Of people that are just saying we're sick of it. We're tired of it. This is what you guys are doing is illegitimate. It's illegal. It's evil, and we're not going to put up with it. And it's like I said, it's that thing to remember that in the face of these authoritarian power grabs, of these acts of unconscionable human cruelty, right? And here's the thing, even if you were very strongly anti-immigration, or you had a real beef with illegal immigration, even if you were, I think you can look at what's going on and how this issue is being handled and acknowledge that this is the wrong way to go about it, that this is unnecessarily cruel, and a lot of people that had nothing to do with it. How many stories of people that were citizens getting shot or fucking tased or this or that, How many of those stories have to happen before you go, maybe the people running this they don't have true intentions, you know?
Or maybe they just don't care. Maybe they really don't care about you.
Mm-hmm. And I know our listener base. You guys are all, I don't even like ice in my drink, and I understand entirely. But even if you were someone who had a stronger, I want some strong borders, I want only people coming in legally, it wouldn't take much to just acknowledge that this is fucked up. And anybody who's showing their ass out in the streets, good for you. Fuck this. And we can always talk about it's like, well, a protest without organized demands is just a complaint. It's just loud complaining. But at least it does serve as a reminder that there are swaths and swaths of people who are not going to roll over for what's going on right now. And if you're not in a position where you can go out in the streets and raise hail, praise Dale, that's okay. Find other ways to support people. Support the people that are doing stuff like this. And then, like I said, also just if all you can do is look at what's directly in front of you and figure out how do you keep people alive, how do you keep people fed. There's never been a fascist regime that has lasted that long in the grand scheme of things. Sometimes the name of the game is outlast. But as we've gone through reporting on the news, we have started coming against this wall of how many times do I just want to say something depressing is going on? It sucks, So I like, at least in some small way, to shine a light on somebody who, or in this case, multiple people who, they are not letting this stop them. Kat Abu, it'll be great to see how that election pans out. This indictment is probably not going to faze her in the slightest.
She just pled not guilty yesterday.
Yeah, and it's nothing's gonna come of it. I'm sure. I'm at least, God, like I said, I'm hoping it all ends up getting thrown out. Much like Sandwich Guy, the guy that threw the sandwich at the ICE people.
Yeah, he got off, right?
That jury basically said this is absurd. We're not gonna be a party to this. So maybe something like that'll happen. Jury nullification is a thing. Like I said, it's good to try to shine a slight light and say that, yeah, it's fucked up shit going on. There are people that are like you. They do acknowledge that what is going on is fucked, and they are finding ways to combat it to the best of their ability. And again, I hate to say it, watching that video was right after this happened, and then she's in a fucking, I think she was in a Pokemon suit or something, and she's just like, hey guys, this is how we're celebrating Halloween. It's like, ah man, that's great, class act. Never let him see you sweat.
Tell me, is this worth saying anything about? Senator Angus King, he's an independent who caucuses with the Democrats, said standing up to Trump didn't work. I'll take that as a no because you're quiet.
This man's 81 and ain't shit. I hope he falls down a flight of stairs. No, we don't. Like I said, we really don't have to talk about it. It's he's who gives a shit with some fucking old as fuck independent, blah, blah, blah. Fetterman, you want to talk about Fetterman? Right after the Democrats caved, he had an incident and fell down some stairs. It's what is going on? What is going on? It's always, he's not even that old. I understand he's had a lot of health problems, but it's again, the greatest threat to national security is steps. There's no handrail. What is going on, guys?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to think it's karma for what he did and what he continues to do.
I mean, the man is ultimate wolf in sheep's clothing type shit, so there you go. I don't really have much to say beyond that.
Yeah, he's a devil. That's all it comes down to. He's a demon.
That D next to his name means nothing. I mean, the D in general doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot.
No, it means demon. I just said this.
Yeah. Demon, and then the R stands for really evil demon as well. And then the I stands for I'm pretty sure this is a demon. What other news stories? Oh, yeah, we haven't touched on. You know what else caught on during all of this? Robbing museums.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Not one, but at least two, right?
Well, there was a warehouse in California that got hit right after the Louvre. And you guys have probably heard enough about the Louvre, but it's really one of those cases that break-in only worked because of the perceived invincibility of the Louvre. It's who's gonna hit this? This is the fucking Louvre, man. And then there's
what kind of Ocean's 11 ass crazy motherfucker is gonna come in and try to steal some shit from us?
And then so it was yeah, some ballsy dum-dums And they were like, oh, man, we were not prepared at all for this because we never thought it would happen.
Ocean's 3.5.
Yeah. And then, like, I guess emboldened by, like, realizing how easy it is to get away with
Stealing from
artifacts.
a museum.
Yeah, a California warehouse that held a lot of stuff for a museum also got hit. I want to say there was a third one, but I can't recall it. My only question is, like, maybe not so much the Louvre, because, like, they got away with a lot of gold and, like, they were, dropping stuff. Their comically large burlap sack with a $sign on it got a hole in it, so, like, there was a trail of gold coins that came out, whatever. But the artifact thing, like, I'm wondering, like, you guys, they probably got a cursed item, right? Like, they got something that's carrying some sort of, like,
well, what no one's
slab.
talking about is how when they broke in, the wax statues came to life and said, stop right there, and that's why they ran.
And the other thing is that with the California warehouse thing, it seemed to be a case of, like, these guys realized they could get in the building. They said from the investigation, it's like, it seemed like they realized they had a way in, and then they just grabbed whatever was nearby.
What do you think they got? Did they say what they got away with? Do they even know? Because it's in a warehouse. They'd have to, like, probably go through and do an audit or something.
Yeah, hold on. Like, they did get away with a lot of stuff. There was over 1,000 historical artifacts. Things like Native American baskets, ivory carvings, jewelry. But it was one of those, like, they grabbed what was
stuff
there.
that you're gonna sell for like $40 at a swap meet.
Yeah, stuff you're probably not gonna be able to sell at all.
Like, oh, hey, this is kind of like a cool ivory thing. I'll give you $20 for it. Sir, this is like 5,000 years old. $26. That's all I got.
End up talking to fucking old buddy from Pawn Stars, and he's like, best I can do is, this is Scrimshaw. What the hell? A what now?
I'm gonna have to call my guy on this. His guy is the police.
Oh boy. Well, so yeah, that's a thing. That's some stuff.
To give a Magic take on that. That is the problem of living off of your perception and your aura, as the kids call it these days.
Well, it's very much it's almost the inverse of the walking right past the guards very confidently as if no one could stop you, because later the guards were going to just say that they never saw anyone because you just looked like you were supposed to be there, so they almost blot you out. That's in Magic and Theory and Practice, right? Or it's in book 4 at least. But this is almost the opposite, where it's like, if you put on this air of being impregnable and untouchable, that's really great until all of a sudden somebody realizes the Emperor has no clothes and the Emperor has his
valuable jewels hanging out.
Yeah, and he has his network security password that's just his name. You just type in Emperor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Emperor. What the fuck?
Didn't even need a special character. Jesus.
Well, you're a special character if you got away with these heists. The Louvre guys have already been, at least some of them have already been caught. I don't know if there's been an update on the California guys, but it's like those ones really do seem like you're going to have a very hard time trying to hawk any of those.
I think both of these groups of people, I know the Louvre had some planning involved, but I feel like both of these were ultimately like someone saw, like, wait a minute, you'd probably just go right in there. Like, I don't see anything. Do you see anything, Jim? And he's like, no, I don't see nothing. And they just did it. The spur of the moment improvisation of, why not? Let's just fucking do something crazy.
As of right now, the California guys have not been caught yet. They did release the footage that shows the two guys wearing masks and going through, but like they still didn't get them. All right. Well, that's wild. What other news stories did we have?
Oh, we had the throwback. We haven't done a CMN throwback headline in a while.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the story of because again, another museum heist, the story of the golden toilet that got stolen?
Oh yeah, they stole it and then got caught. What's going on now?
Well, it just got auctioned for $10 million.
$10 million? By who?
I guess the people that owned it originally, right? Or the artist, maybe?
No. Who put up $10 million?
Oh, no, I don't think it's been auctioned yet, but it's starting.
Oh, that's the starting bid. Okay. All right. What do we got in the Patreon right now? Not enough?
Not 10 million.
Not 10 million?
Not 10 million.
Okay, well, wait.
We're going to have to give them best offer.
buy it now for $5. Oh boy.
You remember what the name of the toilet was? Like what the art piece was?
It's like America, right?
Yeah, it's America. Man, if I saw a headline saying America being auctioned for $10 million, I would also not be surprised to see issue.
Trump pulls his ultimate rug pull.
This is the art of the deal, baby.
Just inflates that cost of America as high as he can and then just gets out of Dodge. Actually, he's running the price down so he can buy it cheap, I guess. But what's that? I'm trying to remember the name of this. There's like this auction house like app that's like you could just go on there and auction off whatever. People do it with Pokemon cards a lot.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, what's it called? Whatnot. That was it. Yeah,
Whatnot.
yeah.
He's going to go on Whatnot. Like,
Dude,
all right, today, everybody, how you doing? I see you in the chat there. Today we're auctioning America.
All one purchase. You can't break it off into the states or nothing.
No, the set goes together. We thought about selling Antarctica to Russia. We didn't do it. We're keeping it here with the pack.
Any other, like, what happened? Like, is there like a Bigfoot story? We got like a Bigfoot story, like a story about a cryptid or something. Or a Yeti cult. Or like a frog that's got a weird arm or something. Like, you know, something good. Like something that's like what we talk about.
Chimp caught after escaping enclosure, gallivanting around zoo.
Good for him. I haven't gotten to gallivant in a long time either.
Here, I got one that might have some magical import.
Sure.
Town pleads for return of beloved local mannequin.
Interesting.
All right. Wait, walk with me here.
I'm so down.
So the mannequin's just like a mannequin of a woman with a hat and like an orangish peach colored top on, and she's like in a pool. I think that's a pool.
Okay.
Tourism officials in a small South African town are asking for tips about the disappearance of a beloved local landmark. A mannequin swimming in the dam just outside town. So I guess it's a dam. It's a very small dam. Maybe I don't know how dams work. Neu Bethesda Tourism said on social media that the swimsuit-clad mannequin, known as Beverly, vanished from her usual spot in the water of a farm dam on the road. Beverly isn't just any mannequin. She's been a quirky, much-loved part of our little town's charm, the post said. Rhino Grieve, a local sculptor and artist, placed Beverly in the dam about 2 years ago after he was inspired by a Facebook joke about skinny dipping in the small dam.
I mean, that feels like a quirky little town thing, like, but somebody stole it, you jerks.
Grieve said he suspects it would have taken multiple people to move Beverly due to the heft of her concrete base. That's the part that gets me, is that a handful of people had to decide that we're going to move this fucking mannequin.
And now you're going to be cursed. You know what? You know what would be appropriate? I hope your house floods. You broke the dam.
Here's the thing, right? There's an odd power in putting something weird out there. I mean, art has power, I suppose, to begin with, but there's an odd power in just being like, hey, I'm going to put a mannequin in a swimsuit out in like a big thing full of water out here, because no one would give a fuck about that mannequin otherwise. But it's got this power as this local symbol.
It's like that story we said way back where it was like the sword that kept getting stolen.
Yeah, the magic sword that can't possibly be magic because they keep replacing it.
Oh, it's definitely magic because it doesn't matter. Man, that's a pretty cool sword. No matter how many times you steal it, it somehow comes back.
You know what it is? It's stealing the signs at Whataburger.
Yeah, it is. It's man, I keep stealing them and they always come back. You know, they never run out of numbers.
It's just the you're not supposed to do it. So you're going to fucking do it. Do you think they're going to find her? You think they're going to bring her back?
I certainly hope so. I think she needs to be back in that dam swimming.
Yeah, otherwise there won't be a good harvest.
Yeah, obviously. But also it's like it won't be that hard to just make another mannequin and put it out there. So I guess this won't be...
But it won't be the same mannequin.
Yeah, but it's that thing about like is this the original building? And I'm like, well, yeah, but it burnt down in 43. And it's like, oh, so it's not. And it's like, no, it's still the same building, right where we left it. We just had to rebuild it. Do you know what I'm talking about? That was
No, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, Wilson was talking about a Buddhist temple or something like that in Japan. So yeah, the spirit of what that mannequin represents is always going to be there. But also, I do hope that they get horrible poetic justice of their house flooding until they return the mannequin.
I hope it comes to life and points to them and says, "You put me back."
I hope it floods. I hope they flood their pants and they're like, "Oh no, I have peed myself from the mannequin's curse." And then your girlfriend's gonna be like, "I don't know what the hell you're talking about, pissy." Put that shit back.
Your girlfriend is also a mannequin.
Your girlfriend is the movie mannequin.
Okay, I guess, is that enough news? Do you have anything spooky?
Oh, no. We've got one more to touch on. I do have to eat my words because apparently Etsy has not banned witches on their site yet.
No, they haven't.
They have not. And actually, I will say, looking back at it, apparently they did already several years ago, and it just didn't work. Like, people were just didn't take. Everyone just collectively kept putting their magic stuff on Etsy, and it's like, all right,
disclaimer: this is an art project.
Yeah. It's that sort of thing. But headline: The Etsy witch is real. The viral spell Mariners fans say changed everything.
Hey, I'm a sports ball guy.
Yep.
The Mariners, huh?
You're saying this like you did not send me this article.
I was trying to give suspense.
Oh boy. Okay. It all started on September 5th when a fed-up Mariners fan, Stephen Blackburn, took to social media with a final desperate plea. He announced that he had purchased a curse-lifting spell from the Etsy shop called Spell by Luna for $15.99. So apparently a guy on social media bought a curse lifting thing. And the bigger thing to me is that, like, sports are one of those fields that are plagued by an overabundance of curses
and superstitions.
And breaking curse. Yeah, and superstitions. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but like Peyton Manning broke the Bobby Lane curse. We talked about that on one of our very early episodes.
Boy, howdy did he. We're going all the way this year, Lions. Sorry.
Yeah, Bobby Lane was on the Lions and he got traded, right? Like in the middle
Bobby
of the season.
Lane was on the Lions. He got hurt. They had a backup quarterback take over and they won. And they were like, you know what? We're just going to go with him. And they traded Bobby Lane. Bobby Lane, who was like the guy that took them to the fucking big win. He was a great player. He was like the cornerstone of that team. And they're like, maybe it's time to move on. And they traded him, and he was so fucking mad about it. Well, I tried what they call a hex. And he cursed the Lions to never win for 50 years. And that shit worked.
Didn't we talk about another story where it was like a soccer team, like where it was it's like the team had hired some kind of local medicine man, woo-woo type person, and they didn't like to win, and then they didn't pay him, so he responded by cursing them.
Yeah, and they got fucked.
Yeah, and they got fucked really. So it was like a decade later, and they got another guy that they paid him to make sure that the curse got lifted.
Yep. I mean, well, and we've talked about this before off show, like, and maybe on the show even, but sports is just full of that. People that are otherwise completely rational, materialist types will do the craziest fucking things for sports. You just think about your dad, listener, as he walked into the room as the game was on, saw that his team fumbled, immediately walked out of the room, didn't even watch the rest of the game.
Stayed in the kitchen for the duration of the night because he knew, it was like, if I go back in there, it's going to fuck him up. Think of the amount of magic socks and lucky underwear and Saints medallions that litter any sports locker room at any given moment.
Oh, yeah. I would probably wager there's a lot of spooky people in sports.
Yeah, maybe not in the coyote types, or like probably not a whole lot of Golden Dawn members. No,
actually, I think they're all coyotes probably. It's probably people that are like, I don't care how it works. I don't know how it works. I'm just doing it because it's worked.
Right. Well, I would say I'd imagine that there's a lot of, given the great melting pot that is like a lot of major sports leagues, right?
Yeah, especially
there's probably a lot of like folk magic from different cultures that have bled in.
Oh, yeah. I would think specifically because we're talking about the Mariners and like baseball, there's probably a lot of like South American folk magic all over that fucking locker room.
Oh, yeah. Well, and there's like, just in general, it's like there's probably a lot of like Santeria and Brujo, like that kind of stuff. But there's probably a lot of other stuff. I mean, hell,
and there's probably a lot of like weird shit that makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you do? Well, I'm taking my pre-game ritual. Like, what is it? Well, I put an orange right here. I do 3 shots of Jaeger, and then I turn to this page of Sports Illustrated issue 77 from 1992. But why? Because I don't pitch right if I don't, bro. You want to lose?
Okay, and then here's my question too: is there something to this idea of, because there is so much woo-woo and superstition and like sort of let's call it the wobbliness that is produced in quote unquote reality by the magical world view or the magical practice, as it were, right? Do you think that makes in the same way that like somebody who does a lot of magic would probably far more likely to come to the conclusion that they've been cursed? So like, because there's so much wonkiness surrounding not just the players, but the fans and all of this stuff, so that when somebody says, you didn't let my goat in here, now you're cursed, like it takes hold, like it's a real, like it's a much bigger thing than it would be like of any other thing. If this was just like at a paper mill or something like that, they'd be like, who gives a shit? Fuck off. But because it has such a high concentration of magical import, and then that stuff can really take hold.
On my coyote pragmatist sort of bent, I think what it is that the world of baseball, as it were, or the world of sports, the wacky world of sports,
Definitely wacky,
has practices that fit into this sort of thing. It's just there's a sense, because there's an odd superstition about being an athlete in general, right? Like the yips is a thing. This thing that will come over you where suddenly you just can't fucking play anymore. You can't fucking play right. And they have a name for it. It's called the yips. You can't throw. You suck now, and it's just over you, and you have to work it out somehow.
We get that with our podcast sometimes.
And then when you have stuff where, okay, well, the Lions have done really bad for many, many years, and a guy said he put a hex on us. Well, what's the logical thing to do if that's the situation you have? You're like, well, we're going to fix that hex. How do we break a hex? Come on. Let's get the beer and the salt. And it's the same thing with this Mariners fan. Like, in a weird way, I don't know. I really don't know if this had any effect on it, but maybe, just maybe, the whole Charlie Kirk situation put Etsy witches in people's minds. And suddenly they thought, well, our team's doing really fucking shit this year. It's almost like we're cursed. Well, what do you do? Well, I know what got rid of Charlie Kirk.
Didn't the Etsy witches real? Didn't that come from like a commentator during the game?
Somebody said it on camera at one point, and then I think the commentator said it as they were winning. They said, oh my God, the Etsy witch is real, which is just top 5 sports quotes of all time, folks. That's amazing. You can't tell me
quotes that happened before like your head explodes. The Etsy witch is real.
I love that for that fan. I love it for the Mariners. I love it for the spooky world we live in. This is my big brain conspiracy, right? You ready for it? The Etsy witches knew they needed a PR win. Look, we're not about murdering people. You know what we're about? Another fucking World Series win. A World Series for the Mariners. That's what we're about.
But now the problem is everybody's going to buy it up, and you're going to have so many competing spells that no one's going to get anything. It's going to be like neutral playing field again.
Well, you know how to fix that. That's right, listener. Go do a spell for your favorite sports ball team right now.
Why don't you do magic for the things you really want? Like a new pennant for. But no, I've said this. I think I've said this before on the show. I don't really believe in a whole lot, in terms of like big metaphysical woo woo whatevers. What I really do believe in, though, is the universe's comedic sense of timing.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So it's always nice when someone like goes, it's like, yeah, guys, don't worry. I broke the curse. And then they have a win. It's because of course it does, you know? It's like there could not have been another answer.
There was one. Yeah, you can't lose for that long and then break a curse and not win. You might go right back to losing. That's possible, but you're gonna fucking win that next.
You're gonna
game.
win that one. Yeah, it's gonna
the
be long
universe
enough.
Is not gonna let that opportunity slide by.
It's too funny.
It's too funny.
Okay. I think that is enough news.
I think that's a great place to end this one. Go Mariners.
I don't really watch sports, so I don't have a...
Just say go Mariners. Be supportive.
Fine, go Mariners.
Yeah, there we go.
What's the Mariners mascot?
It's a mariner.
That doesn't tell me anything. A moose?
Wait, say that again?
Mariner moose. Oh, never mind. I love it. Go Mariners. I love them. That's great.
Bracket.
You know what we had a really fun time doing last episode? Having kind of like a meandering conversation about books that we liked.
And people that we think are cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, short version. I started reading Brion Gysin's The Process. For those of you who are not familiar with Brion Gysin, he was a painter, writer, artist, poet, sound design, million other things. Just an all-around Renaissance man of the creative who was a longtime collaborator with William S. Burroughs. He is one half of the cut-up method. He's also the reason that Naked Lunch ever actually made it into a book because he did the editing to compile it together. He helped with Exterminator and Here to Go is a collection of both of their things. It's like he's pretty much anytime Burroughs does anything, Gysin is around. Strangely enough, he's on the record as having told Burroughs that it's like, don't worry about this cut up method stuff so much. Like, you're a really good narrative writer. You should just work with that sometimes. Brion Gysin is referred to by Burroughs as the only man he ever respected. The final book in the Cities of the Red Knight trilogy, The Western Lands, is dedicated to Brion Gysin as the man who taught me how to see. And I couldn't help reading that think that see meant perhaps in the way that Castaneda described Don Juan as teaching him to see. This is a man who is fantastic. His influence is felt to this day in so many occult circles, and chaos magic in particular.
Let alone art.
Art. Yeah. Not even talking about the artistic influence. And the man is a mystery wrapped in a riddle, covered in an enigma. Yet he's also just there in interviews. A quote that I found during all of this just has tingles going up my spine that says, if you want to learn how to disappear, come around for a private lesson. That's an interesting one. To disappear, to Among many of his writings, discussing things like the cut-up method, the third mind that he wrote with Burroughs, explorations of more autobiographical or sort of theoretical ideas in many of his works. He also wrote, at least from what I see, at least 2 novels, but the one we're talking about is The Process. The Process is essentially, well, I don't know, it's a lot of things. The Process is a psychological journey in the form of a pilgrimage of the main character. It's another one of those books that is autobiographical in all of the right ways, but it's not just the main character who is Brion Gysin. Everyone in the novel is Brion Gysin. When you hear the main character, Ulysses O. Hansen, who often referred to as Hassan because of the nature of the Sahara Desert Middle Eastern climate North Africa climate that the whole novel takes place in. When you hear him discussing being the habitual outsider of the Westerner living in Tanja or traveling across the desert, and while being fascinated with the culture and the background that surrounds him, being the habitual outsider, that's Gysin. But when his partner in crime a man named Hamid describes his relation to the master musicians of Jajuka, who are a group of Sufi trance musicians that are very real. That is also Gysin, because he described his fascination with Sufism coming first from hearing the music and then understanding the relationship of the music with the culture and this mysticism that permeates everything, and ultimately magic. That's not my words. Those are his. The way in which certain parts of the world in his time, in the 60s, 70s, that there were still places in the world that operated on magic. He described hearing musicians that were still withholding the rites of Pan. He described finding an amulet that was meant as a way to cast him out of this certain area that he was in, because he had opened a restaurant and the restaurant went tits up afterwards. And he seemed to believe very, very earnestly in magic. He was someone who, like Burroughs, thought that the cut-up method had something to do with ascertaining the real properties and powers of language by coming at them from a completely different direction, and a way of understanding them in a transpersonal or a trans-temporal sense, where by cutting up the present, the future could bleed out. I believe that's a quote from Burroughs, but it was something Gysin himself believed in wholeheartedly. And this novel, as a whole, is this man's journey into the Sahara Desert, and with it, a journey through himself. There is a great deal of personal content from Gysin within all of these characters and this very lived experience, but also speaking to a greater spiritual significance. And hanging over it all is Hassan Isaba, the Gnostic Ismaili, who is someone that I've said it on the podcast before. I'm fascinated with this man, not so much who he actually was, but what his myth is. The great myth of Hassan Isaba, Lord of the Assassins, who could reach as far as Paris. This man who held Alamut, where he dispatched these blindly loyal men that would carry out his deeds for him, who had this garden of paradise that he would show to his devotees. All of this mystery and this air surrounding him, but also knowing that Alamut was a strange anomaly in its time period, and that it was regarded as a place where metaphysicians and astronomers and astrologers and thinkers could engage in their work undisturbed, which wasn't always the case in that time period. What he represents throughout history, not just back then, but even now, what he represents is something that is, without a doubt, resonated with me and resonates with, I imagine, a lot of you. And I think that this novel is worth your time as another taste of a culture that you're probably not as immersed in as you could be or as you would like to be, but also as an immersion in a great myth, a great backdrop of so many stories and so many ideas. And this book is filled with these moments of 1 minute it's just talking about the bullshit of driving through in a little diesel truck in the desert and your mouth is dry and you're doing all, and there's some old broad next to you getting sick. And then in the next scene, it will be describing these great spiritual moments that can get inside you and just overrun you. At every square, I saw a brazen lantern burning where a master sat staring at his adept, and every adept I knew was someone I loved, and this whole host of names of people that the main character has known in their life. And then finally, I sought to make the master turn to look at me, and I looked back, and they had all taken upon my face, you know? These beautiful, ornate scenes that are described that I just think are really powerful. And in the same way with Kenneth Grant, where I described there's something good about just letting somebody's system or someone's ideas or someone's story just run roughshod across you. Just let it in and let it do what it wants to do and go with it. I think this is a book that is doing that for me. And it hits all of the spots that I really like. You know, it's like, yeah, great. Hassan Isaba, Sufism, the notions of like spiritual pilgrimage, of being the outsider, of this, that, and the other. So it hits all of my marks, but I imagine it's something that'll probably hit a lot of yours too, you know?
Yeah, you make me want to read it just talking about it, so.
I have gone on for far too long. I'm sorry. This was
even.
supposed to be conversational, but it's just me gushing.
No, I'm trying to, what is it about the narrative that got you so much, you think? I mean, other than what you've said already, is it just that it happens to hit all the weird proclivities of your own practice? Because, I mean, it's got burrows, it's got assassins, it's got talking about Sufism. I mean, if they were writing a book for co-hosts, they would.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Is there a Minotaur in it?
Actually, I'm gonna give this to you because I think you'll hear this and you'll already be hooked. This desert is so long that it can take a lifetime to go from one end to the other, and a childhood to cross at its narrowest point. I made that narrow childhood crossing on another continent, out through hazardous tenement hallways and stickball games in the busy street, down American asphalt alleyways to paved playgrounds, shuffling along welfare waiting lines into a maze of chain store and subway turnstiles, and through them out onto a concrete campus of cold gray city whose skyscrapers stood up to stamp on me. It has been a long time winding down here to this sunny but sandy middle passage of my life in Africa, along with the present party. Here, too, I may well lose my way, for I can see that I am, whoever I am, out in the middle of nowhere when I slip back into this awakening flesh, which fits me, of course, like a glove. I know this body as if it were a third party whose skin I put on as a mask to wear through their land of fear. And I do go in sort of disguise for like everyone else here in this blazing desert where a man is a fool to show his face naked by day. I have learned to wrap 5 or 6 yards of fine white muslin around my head to protect the mucus of my nose and throat against the hot, dry wind. All you can see of me is my eyes. For once, I look just like everyone else. No need for me to open these eyes. I know what is out there. Nothing but the very barest, stripped illusion of a world. Almost nothing. Nothing at all. That's first page. So if that gets you, please join me on this journey.
Wow, it's quite a read. I'm into it. I'll probably have to pick that up.
Well, you can have my copy as soon as I'm done.
Thanks. Funnily enough, while we were the idea for this kind of came up just like we said, because we enjoyed getting to just kind of sit down and talk about why we liked Kenneth Grant books so much. We thought, yeah, why don't we give you another like kind of like an occult book exchange idea? And you already had the process because that's what started. We were talking about it, and it made me think, well, what could I present to the readers? I hadn't read anything that I thought particularly got me lately, or at least nothing that would be of interest for the podcast, at least. I mean, unless we want to get a real esoteric kind of rabbit hole and be like, hey, you guys want to hear me quote from on Understanding Violence and Other Essays? Which no one wants to do that.
I mean, I do, but
okay. If you want to hear me quote from Understanding Violence Philosophically and Other Essays, men also possess imagination, and this power involves more than reproduction of past images. It signifies also productive capacity. Imagination opens us up to the vast realm of the possible, which is a world more commodious than any actual world. Imagination enables us to live outside ourselves in space, as memory enables us to live outside of the present in time. Both, however, permit the gathering of the distant in the near. the bringing into presence of that which has been as well as that which never was. Shakespeare understood so well this double nature of imagination as productive and reproductive, as in the intricate joining and harmonizing of the real and the possible. And as imagination bodies forth the forms of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them into shapes and gives to airy nothing a local habitation and name.
That's astounding. I love that. I mean, like, you just read that for the rest of the episode. I'm cool. I mean, the listeners might not care for it so much, but
it is very cool. But it's not
I have
what
a
we're here
million
to talk
things
about.
to say. I have a million things to say about imagination. So, in fact, looking at some of the Sufi readings I've been doing because of all of this, I've got more to say about it now.
Fuck it. We'll play into the bit for a little bit longer. As imagination bodies forth the forms of things unknown, the poet's pen turns them to shapes and gives to airy nothing a local habitation and a name. That right there, just paired with all the Kenneth Grant stuff, just gives me chills. This idea of the imagination, again, as a divine faculty, as Blake called it, the way in which the imagination gives a local habitation, it gives it place, it gives it location.
As the thing that can reach from the disembodied, the abstract, the invisible, as it were, and give it the space for which things can happen, for the things to be known, to be understood, you know?
Right, and not like Cartesian space, not location as existing on a coordinate plane of a material universe, as local habitation as part of the phenomenal world that we experience, of the life world. The way in which imagination brings things that have no corporeality and embodies them in our activity, creates them.
And not only that, but the act of this is sort of what I said about at the beginning of man as you are always at the crossroads, you are the liminal being, you are the thing that stands for all potentialities. But this is also like in Sufism, they have the concept of the barzakh, which is sort of the in-betweenness. But the imagination as a form of that in-betweenness, or at least man engaged in the imaginative as that state of in-betweenness between the known and the unknown, between the tangible and the intangible, but between the seemingly concrete materiality and the sublime nature of the realm from which all of these things are derived, you know? And even that doesn't do it justice, because it can get into sort of like Platonic forms ideas. But the notion of the great many things that exist that are not apprehended in the moment, that are like Crowley said, all ye are is the opposition of different forces, you know, that sort of thing.
We could legitimately go off on that for a while, but we're not going to, because I actually
We're not gonna.
We're not. That is a book I'm reading, but that's not the one I came here to talk to you about, because the actual origins of the book I want to talk to you about comes from simple word association. The novel you were reading is called The Process, and that reminded me of an old standby that I have mentioned on this show before, but I don't think I've ever talked about my fascination with their work. This would be the founder of the theory of process, a man named Arthur M. Young.
A man of many talents.
Well, Arthur M. Young is many, many things, but he's probably first
invented the
foremost.
helicopter.
Well, hang on, I'm getting there. He's many things. I think he is first and foremost a seeker. When you hear this man talk about how he arrived at his ideas and his goals and orientation in life, you are struck by the sheer idiosyncraticness of it, and also the fact that it is first and foremost one that is driven, filled with purpose. The work he has created, the ideas he has laid out for us, are something that I think probably is more informed by that than anything else. Where to start with Arthur Young? Maybe we start with his own words. I would like to offer a brief description of the steps by which my theory came into being. This will also conveniently involve acknowledging my sources, which include cosmologies embodied in old myths. Despite current neglect, these ancient concepts are in close accord with modern scientific findings. And I know many of you are already going like, oh God, one of these guys. And yes, Arthur Young is one of those guys. I'm not even going to front. Arthur Young is very much on some ancient wisdom, secret teachings type stuff, but he arrives at it in a very odd way. The spirit of the times emerging from the horse and carriage era. Arthur Young was born in 1904, conveniently the after the start of the new aeon. I would just like you to keep thoughts on Thelema in the back of your mind for just a little bit of this. The era was rejoicing in new thought. The automobile, the telephone, the radio, the motion pictures inspired an enthusiasm for encompassing space. Lindbergh's solo flight to Paris expressed an emerging ambition to contain the universe mentally. The theory of relativity claimed to capture totality in the pattern of space and time. Arthur Young then lays out his attempts at constructing a theory that would explain the universe. He essentially talks about his big epiphany being the issue of time, and after studying relativity, he just simply couldn't understand reducing time to another dimension like space. He changed his theory at one point to something called the theory of time structure, but he uses the great metaphor of like the problem of structure is that it's all laid out. It's a static sort of thing. It's like having a still image and then having a motion picture. You lose what's going on in the picture. And that led to what he calls the theory of process. He lays out lots of ideas of the issues of the various new ways of understanding the universe that had emerged in his time, with special interest to the mathematics and the scientific and physics side of these sorts of things. He's just completely caught up in the big brain questions of the world, things like determination, free will, time.
Aren't we all, But that, if I remember, that part of this he almost realizes that these large questions they're hard to work out when you're just staring at them.
Exactly. This was perhaps the part of the story that makes people scratch their heads a little bit, because I have told you about my friend Arthur Young here, who has given us big metaphysical ideas and scientific ones, trying to come up with a grand theory of everything, which I haven't even laid out yet, but you're already like, okay, he's on some ancient wisdom, science and quantum physics will explain the old myths type stuff. Most of those people, what do? You write like a long blog post and hope that someone pays attention to you. But you didn't have blogs back then. So Arthur had to come up with something else. And he decided that his major problem was that these philosophical ideas that he was developing were not science. This was not a scientific project to undertake. There was no way of testing this. If he was going to truly understand the theory that he was working out, he had to see it through. And what Arthur's theory ultimately leads to is entirely informed by this massive undertaking, which is the real reason he is famous, I think. I think if he had just been a spooky guy with a book, people might not have cared so much. But Arthur Young dedicated his time, after looking at various possible things to create, because that's what he's trying to do. He wants to find essentially a problem or something that needs to be brought into being and create it. And he settled on the helicopter. Now, helicopters had already existed before this, but they were not very useful. They were not easy to produce. They were a novelty more than they were a useful object. And Arthur Young dedicated 18 years to developing essentially like the modern helicopter. First off, he goes to his parents' home and holes up trying to work out how to create a helicopter. And then after he is assured that this is going to work, he gets a patent, and then he goes to the Bell Aircraft Company and he convinces them to make his helicopter. And long story short, he succeeds. He succeeds big time. It's the Bell 47 model helicopter. If you ever saw MASH, it's the one that they used in MASH, apparently, but it continued to be manufactured for 30 years after that. Virtually all of the helicopters that Bell Helicopter would develop were influenced by Arthur Young's designs. And he essentially worked out all these ideas because he needed, in order to understand the universe, create something, solve a problem. And these insights are the most informative things he pulls on. You might think that it's ancient myths. You might think that it's quantum physics, but what it is a very simple notion. Many problems in the development of the helicopter involved this sequence: finding what happens, the laws or regularities, and rerouting one's course to make the same laws work to help them. As when the carpenter paneling a board discovers he's working against the grain and turns the board around. I also found in the helicopter an example of how evolution works. I found by experience that without purpose, a goal-directed activity, the helicopter could not possibly have evolved. Because of its analogous function of building from blueprints, we might liken the assembly line to DNA. Evolution, it is supposed, is due to the accidental mutations of the DNA, but the helicopter assembly line brought home to me quite forcibly that there was a built-in predisposition in what formerly had been an airplane assembly line to resist the change to helicopters and revert to airplane manufacturers. This could be counteracted only by constant vigilance. As a crowning touch, when the manufacturer was transferred to Texas and new equipment was required, the equipment ordered was that for the manufacture of airplanes. This error was caught in time, but by a person outside the manufacturing organization, one of the helicopter team. Purpose is the important factor in developing a machine. The tendency of philosophers who know nothing of machinery to talk of man as a mere machine, intending by this to imply he is without purpose, shows a lack of understanding of machines as well as of man. Indeed, there never was a machine that did not have a purpose, and there is perhaps no purpose that does not require a machine, whether a human body or some other kind, to achieve it. So, with that in mind,
mic drop.
With that in mind,
I do love that.
Yeah,
I love him going.
Arthur Young is he's a brilliant talker. So, during his manufacturing of the helicopter, the nuclear bomb was essentially revealed to the world and created. And this deeply troubled Arthur Young. It made him shift gears, as it were. Of course, his experiments in the helicopter and success allowed him the freedom to do this, but he began to grapple with the things that, as he calls it, science could not explain, nor could they understand, but seemed almost self-evident given the experience of the human being, namely things like ESP. One of the more interesting stories he gives as well is radionics.
Really?
Where he talks about using like the old school radionics at that, like where you get a drop of blood and then use your coils and so on and so forth for radionics to test or to find traces of disease or even possibly heal them. He said the really interesting thing that happened was we found that if you unplugged the thing, it still worked. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, cute and funny. But then he goes on to say that it seemed to be that the mere intent of the operator was the important capacity of this. What we have is a young man who spent most of his life enamored in the world of science, who was searching for spirituality. He was trying to find a way to bring that back. And I won't go into the ins and outs of the theory because it's well beyond the scope of a single segment on a podcast, but I will read liberally from the appendix and explain based on my own knowledge of the theory, Arthur Young's theory. This is a brief outline of the theory. 1, the universe is a process put in motion by purpose. 2, the development of process occurs in stages. 3, there are 7 stages. 4, each stage develops a new power. 5, powers are cumulative, which each one retains the powers developed in the previous stages. 6, powers are evolved sequentially in what are called kingdoms. Now we get a layout of the 7 kingdoms that Arthur Young has put into this theory of process. They are light, nuclear particles, atoms, molecules, plants, animals, and then, in parentheses, man. Let me explain to you Arthur Young's conception of the evolution going through these kingdoms. Arthur Young, being enamored by quantum mechanics, has the view that all things start as light, as the photon. The photon, the quanta of pure action. It is massless. It is pure energy. He then lays out how what we would understand as, the collapsing of the wave function, so on and so forth, the way that the photon operates in what we could call a purposeful manner, that light always travels the shortest distance, so on and so forth. This is all quantum mechanics stuff. But what Arthur Young means is that the photon is the source of all of existence. It is what creates the universe as we understand it, so on and so forth. And this is the beginning of an evolution from pure potentiality and freedom down into determinism. And that each one of these kingdoms is a restriction of this ultimate pure potentiality. For what reason? For the purpose of creation of these determinations so that something can then rise back to the level of ultimate freedom and potentiality. And if you saw the progression there we had, you already understand what's happening here. We go from light, the photon, to nuclear particles, electrons, protons, and this is the first step down into determination, because now we have mass, we have these small pieces that are uniform. He talks about the Pythagorean. He says there's nothing more Pythagorean than the notion that you can describe all of these things that exist by their number. It's simply numbers and ratios. That's what creates the world.
And carrying from there into atoms that make molecules that are able to, I guess, as plants next, which...
Yes, they form into plant life.
You could argue that, I guess, but no, but I'm with it.
In a very general
vegetable,
sort of sense. But yeah, vegetable matter.
Vegetable consciousness.
Well, here, I will explain
like
the powers as we go along so you can understand what the conceptual apparatus that Arthur Young is trying to pivot here. So potential is the power of light, obviously. It's pure potentiality. Substance is the power of nuclear particles. This creates a determination that they are a fixed thing. Well, if not a fixed thing, they have properties, we could say. The third one, when we get to atoms, is form or identity, because now these things are distinguished. They're different. We've gone from everything can be explained by its ratios deeper into these are distinct atoms. Combination, which building onto that, molecules. Now these facets of identity can come together and form different things by the nature of their combination. After that, it's organization, which is what leads to plant life. Let me stop here real quick, because when we get to combination, that is, for Arthur Young, the fall. Arthur Young sees in the ancient myths not a story of moral fall, but a fall from pure potentiality, undifferentiated, into ego, identity, form, and finally determination, where we are in, to use the fancy term that Arthur Young also uses at some point, Newton's sleep, the billiard ball model of the world, where everything can be explained by its determinate qualities. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. So you can imagine this as a big line starting up here at potential, going down into combination, going from light all the way down into molecules. But then it turns upward. It's an arc. This is 7, arc of process. The early stages of process take on increasing constraints until constraint becomes maximal, at which point there is a turn. The later stages of process see the conquest of constraints and the development of freedom. Freedom in the first half is random, in the last controlled. And that's where we start going upward, because organization, the power of plants, it allows them to essentially be the reproductive biological force on the planet, right? The creation of DNA, the ability to organize the determinate and inert world around you for a teleological purpose.
Infinite potentiality must take form, and it's increasingly filtered down into an increased lack of potential of like there's only so much that can happen. The structure is being implemented only so many directions as we go further and further.
Yes.
And eventually there is a maximum level of this is the necessary level of structure, of this is the necessary level of constraint, of pressure, of whatever on this. That it's like
this is the point where there is no freedom. That the fancy quantum mechanics idea where everything can happen based on these sorts of things.
But it is through that constraint that things are able to function. It was like something is like you're going from a big nothing because everything's undifferentiated. There is no difference to be made between anything. It is all homogeneous whatever. And it is only by the definition of something and defining not as like that's what that is, but like as something taking on form, as it were.
Yes.
That you are able to make that proper turn where the constraints as they exist, the structure that is given now goes from impediment to the thing that facilitates the necessary changes or the necessary forces or the necessary force required to direct what is desired. As in like the potentialities are limited, but now they can be controlled. They can be directed.
Yes, precisely that.
And it all turns back to greater potentials.
Yes, because the next one is mobility, which is the power of animals. Makes perfect sense in this light.
Oh yeah,
we already see where we're going. You've figured out the trick.
Mm-hmm.
We go from ultimate infinite potentiality that becomes constrained into physical form, which then opens us up to the freedom of using the determinate world for things that are directed by our own purpose, because animal mobility allows them to move around, dominate the planet in various ways, and we reach the last stage, which is parentheses man, and Arthur Young did that specifically because he says, well, man is sort of like the first part of this. It could go much farther. I think he even said something about like, I thought about putting gods there, but I don't really know if that's proper.
Yeah.
And the power of man is called dominion, and he used that because of its somewhat biblical connotations, but that is the idea, is that for Arthur Young, this step down from light into molecules, from pure potentiality into the deterministic billiard ball universe, as he calls it. This is the domain of science. This is what science is capable of talking about in proper ways, because the issue of science is that it will not pay heed to the teleological nature that is inherent in the beginning of this with light, with potential. And because of that, they misunderstand what is happening when we go upward into eventually man. Here, I'm going to read from, because he, much like I did, he lays out all of this idea, and he doesn't really touch so much on man until we get towards the end. This is called Specific Problems of Man. But from the molecule on, we lose sight of the quantum of action and therefore have no endorsement from physics. Nevertheless, we see life evolving through plants and animals to man. With man, we have testimony of a different sort, our direct subjective sense of freedom of choice. True, this freedom is questioned, but by whom? By determinists who speak with a conviction that is allegedly based on the absolute rule of scientific law. He is apparently unaware that the absolute rule of law was disposed of some time ago by quantum theory. Nevertheless, his conviction still stands. Based on what? On rational grounds. Here we refuse to get embroiled. The rationalist is impervious to evidence. Let him go. Perhaps he will eventually discover that he is caught in a circular argument. The difficult problem is not to prove free will, but to answer the question, how is it the monad, a fundamental spiritual principle, modified? In what respect is the Elaine of an animal more evolved than of a plant or of a molecule? The question is difficult, if not impossible to answer, because we are not in the same realm of things, i.e., objects have definite properties. The elan, the spirit, or monad, is not so much a thing as it is a power. It has no measure other than its competence. And just so you guys know, he lays out a mathematical theory here involving Planck's constant right after that. So this is what's going on here. The uniqueness of man, dominion. Let us first consider the objection that science might make against creating a different kingdom for man than for animals. Science has classified man as so similar to anatomical structure of apes that he must have a common ancestor. The anthropoid ape is so named from the Greek anthropos, meaning human being, because of his resemblance to man. Science further supports this view by citing the evidence of fossils of forms of man which were more ape-like than the present-day man. There's no questioning the validity of this evidence, even if man is not descended from apes. He has the body of a vertebrate mammal, but man is somehow different from animals. We may describe ways in which this difference manifests in his physique. Man stands upright, thus freeing his front limbs for countless other uses. His thumb opposes the fingers, making it possible for him to grasp objects. His brain is larger. He is the only animal with buttocks. He is naked. His penis is large compared to the other apes. Or we may describe a difference in his behavior. He makes and uses tools. He carries weapons. He communicates with his fellows through spoken and written language. He deals in concepts. He reasons and plans. He is self-conscious. He is religious. Such descriptions may be helpful and give evidence that man is equipped to transcend purely animal functioning, but their mere enumeration does not establish the clear categorical difference we require for a kingdom. What do we require for a separate kingdom? Note that since the kingdoms are cumulative, each one builds on the one before, a common basis is no bar for the distinction between kingdoms. Both vegetables and animals are composed of molecules, and animals share cellular organization with vegetables. But the vegetable acquires a new power in that it is able to build from molecules a complex multicellular organism. The animal adds the power of mobility. Now it would be besides the point to insist that because the vegetable had a molecular constitution, it was the same as a molecule, or because the animal had a cellular constitution, it was the same as the vegetable. So we can go on and say that man's animal constitution is no bar to separate status as a man. Nor is this claim made on behalf of human dignity. As a matter of fact, it reads the other way, for as we will show in the next chapter, man in his kingdom is far less evolved than we are vertebrates in the animal kingdom. Man, we repeat, is as far along to his goal of dominion as the clam is to his goal of mobility. Since the Dominion Kingdom is theoretically established by the symmetry of the ark, the assumption is made not of the existence of the kingdom, but the legitimacy of man's placement there. Be he naked ape or killer ape, we need to discover what it is about man that makes him eligible for membership in a mode of being that transcends the 1 degree of freedom of vegetable growth and the 2 degrees of freedom of animal motion. We need to look at human principle and discover its abstract character. Emphasis on the abstract character permits us to see the upright stance, the opposed thumb, the greater brain size, the use of tools and language, and even deadly weapons as part of a syndrome, supportive spokes that radiate from the dominion principle. These tools provide not just means for conquering nature, but as is becoming increasingly apparent in modern times, the means for man's own destruction and hence a challenge. The challenge to achieve self-control, to attain the responsibility of stewardship.
Okay. And you see that it's a bit wordy, but it ultimately comes down to, in the oddest way, it's a claim of man's potentiality, of like in the of the idea of like man has this potential so far above the rest of his animals that it's like, yeah, he doesn't have it yet. You know, the metaphor of like, yeah, a clam as an animal has like all the mobility as man has dominion. Like that's where we're at right now.
Right.
And
precisely. We can see a very clear line here because I've told you to keep the lemma in the back of your head this whole time.
Oh, yeah.
Arthur Young at one point said something to the effect of man is different because man is capable of having a purpose that transcends himself, something far beyond what he is, something higher. It can exceed his own lifetime. This is textbook magic shit, y'all. I hope you've picked that up. I haven't explained this properly yet, but the two sides of the arc match up. molecules at the very bottom. First rung up, you have vegetables and you have atoms. Next rung up, you have nuclear particles and you have animals. And then at the very top, you have light, pure potentiality, and man. What Arthur Young's theory of process is the descent of the spirit into the world and then the rising of it in man. It's an incredibly Gnostic conception of reality, and it's one that's built on the bare bones ideas of that material universe. It's yes, all these things that you've been telling us are what reality is from a physical standpoint are exactly the same things that we have been speaking of in ancient myth, the ineffable, the limitless potentiality. What Arthur Young's man, this kingdom, is about achieving godhood, about returning to that ultimate freedom and control and potential, but with a twist, because it is seeing the development of freedom not as random, undifferentiated action, but purposeful realization. This is a spooky fucking idea dressed up in the quantum physics clothing. It's really fascinating. And
absolutely.
I haven't even gotten into the fact that this man references people like Leibniz and Einstein just as much as he talks about, well, here, let me explain to you how you see those 4 levels I told you. Those are the 4 elements, right? It starts with limitless potential in man or fire.
Well, and you see Pythagoras had
Right,
I get it.
I mean, it probably goes without saying that his book before this was on astrology. It was called The Geometry of Meaning.
Mm-hmm.
This man was someone who was on both sides of the field. He was someone much like Kenneth Grant and Aleister Crowley before him and people many after him. He was someone that thought that the ancient myths that were so important, because he's got an entire section that's just him explaining old myths to you and how they match up to this theory of process. He even directly talks about a hang on, let me find the source of the myth so I don't say something wrong here. Oh yeah, it's a Mayan myth. It's Popol Vuh. I won't recount the whole thing, but it involves 2 divine twins going for initiation and they fail, so they get their heads cut off and they're like, well, put them in this tree. And then a maiden comes by and goes oh, I want to get the fruit, and she pulls the heads and they go and they spit on her and they go, all right, our progeny have given forth, now we can die. And then they die, and then she gives birth to the reborn divine twins, who then go on become as they call them, itinerant magicians is the term he uses, where they just go around doing all these magical things. Eventually they meet the people that they took the initiations from, and they get one over on them, and then they do their initiations, and this time they work and they succeed. And this story is, in Arthur Young's theory at least, reflecting exactly what he's talking about, how they come down into this dead inert matter and then it re-rises out and develops upon what constrained it before into more power and freedom for themselves. And there's so much more of it, because he talks about Jung, he talks about Castaneda, he talks about all these people, and he has truly created this big unified theory of everything. And listener, if you know anything about us here, we hate those. We absolutely hate shit like this.
I don't know if we'd say we hate stuff like this, but it's like we don't think that any of them are accurate, but you can still appreciate a grand completed work, something that pays so much attention to detail. I feel a little undergunned here. I was like, I just got there's this novel that I like.
What I think I like more about it than anything is that it is a theory. It is a big, heavy, spooky thing too, because he talks about all sorts of things, where he talks about, atoms and concepts are the same because they both bring identity to what were previously abstracted action and forces. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He has this entire thing about how the torus is the reason that you can have freedom and differentiation, individuation even.
Yeah, I've read Time Cube too. It's okay. I get it.
It's so dense and it has so much, but it comes from a oddly practical place where this man was simply attempting to see how mere potential gets made manifest into the world. And it was a helicopter. And this led to this insight that, like, no, that's everything.
A level of universality that can be seen from one process to all processes. Yeah.
Yeah. And you wanted to talk about being able to lose yourself in somebody's ideas. Like I did. I lost myself in Arthur Young's work.
I can tell.
When I first was getting into occultism outside of the people that everybody knows, if that makes sense. Like, I'm sure part of it's just an egoic sort of thing, because to this day, I've met like 3 people who knew who Arthur Young was. Yeah, they're just kind of, it's like just a weird thing, but you can definitely lose yourself for so long just looking at these ideas and trying to understand how you could use them and understand them for your own work, and not just like your own magical work, but like your own life and how you approach ideas, the things you want to accomplish. And if nothing else, it is, I used the term like Gnosticism earlier. It's an incredibly Gnostic sort of idea, but it's, what it is? It's a very Gnostic sort of idea, but it's one that's a lot more informed by the Vedic and the Hindu traditions. It sees the universe, that this descent into the determinate and the material is not, it's not an evil thing to be like, oh, we're so fucked. Oh, thank God we have the spark of the divine in us so we can escape back out of it. It's like, no, this was the whole point. It's evolution. You're returning back to limitless freedom of the ineffable and the divine, but it's returning change, that it's brought something has changed within it and become more whole. It's just a very optimistic sort of thing, and it's one that, again, I think accords with Thelema in a lot of ways, at least in maybe its intention.
Yeah. I get where you're,
If you like the number 7 and you like quantum physics, then I highly recommend the Reflexive Universe. That has been my book review. Thank you.
Like I said, I feel very undergunned here. I just sort of like, yeah, there's a book, but it takes place in a desert, and there is a guy.
No, because it's too.
You talked for like 4 hours, bro.
Oh God.
You talked for like 4 hours. Okay, you gave a whole dissertation. I have a doctorate now, but I'm happy for you because you're passionate about it, and it's a very interesting subject. It's super cool. It's really nice. I've heard you go about this guy before too, so like I said, it is a very, very fascinating guy. I really do love the notion of, I needed something to do to understand the greater natures of the universe. So I just sat and started figuring out how to make a helicopter work. There's something to be said about that, of like, sometimes you just need something to do so that the other thing, it's Siddhartha at the boat, or it's Siddhartha being the boatman, the ferryman.
Listener, if you could find like the grand theory and understand the universe, would you build a small aircraft?
I mean, you think somebody would make a jetpack, like one person.
That is your purpose. Jet. You make the jetpacks.
Okay. I suppose it's time for the palate cleanser.
Yeah. How goes the work?
Yeah, I got nothing.
I talk too much, so I don't even think I need to give one.
Yeah, I got nothing. I don't have anything good this time. It's like, I wish I could say it. It's like last time. Oh man, did we even do a How Goes the Work for the special?
I edited it out because we don't do those for the special. We just did it. We recorded it, listener, because we forgot if we did them for the specials or not. But we didn't, so I edited it out. It's lost media now.
Yep, like the actual episode 61. You don't even know what you're listening to right now.
You look so foolish.
I think I'm just going around with looking at every possible expression of what high magic could be, and then trying to figure it out. And it's all, a lot of people have very different ideas, and none of them make sense. I said I'd have to sit with the idea for a little bit, so that's what I'm trying to do. But, kind of all I got. What about you?
I mean, I've been putting in a lot of work on the Invisibles project that we're dealing with. So I've been feeling the spookiness from that, but that's not so much a actual, well, I won't even say. That's their show. Other than that, I haven't done any, I'm doing the things I normally do. I don't have a big grandiose undertaking that I'm trying to get done. Much in the way that why don't you do magic for the things you really want? It's like, well, because most of the things I really need and want right now are getting off my fat ass and getting a loaf of bread stuff. And not.
What if you just made a helicopter?
I will say one thing. I'm thinking a lot about symbols.
Like the righty ones or like the banging ones over somebody's head and making them see cartoon stars?
The latter.
The kinds that eat guitars?
That's a joke for me, listener. With that,
this has been Chaos Magic News.
The only podcast that's
seeking great freedom through its constraints. If you too would like to invent a helicopter, you can find us at chaosmagicnews.com and tell us all about it. And while you're there, you can peep more links to the pod, other episodes, our interview series, the Jack Frostcast, which is getting off the ground now. You can also follow us on social media at Chaos Magic News on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. We are at CMN Pod
because we refuse to pay the Etsy witch to remove the curse and get our name back.
Yep. And if you've enjoyed any of what you've listened to and you're wondering, how can I support these lovely, lovely yahoos? We also have a Patreon where for just $5 a month, you will get access to special bonus content. Things like watch-alongs where we react to spooky, like we had a satanic law enforcement one. We do occasional readings of things like the Zoetic Grimoire or things like that and have discussions kind of like the latter half of this. And if you just want to chop it up with us and maybe some other spooky people, we do have a Discord. You don't have to pay anything to get in there or whatever. It's open to just whoever wants to show up. But you can rub elbows with us. You can ask us questions about the show. You can toss stuff our way saying, hey, I think you guys should talk about this. Also, for all of our Patreon people, if you did give your hard-earned $5, you get your name read right here.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Cios93. Thank you, Pope Loki Seder, the 23rd, LLC. Thank you, Supremely. Thank you, Coco. Thank you, Alexander. Thank you, Acolyte 1 of the Ice Magic Meditation Society. Thank you, Curse T. Thank you, Fyodor Krasny. Thank you, Venus Christ. Thank you, Tent Athena. Thank you, Bearded Vegan. Thank you, Tremov. Thank you, Tangy Darling. Thank you, Toziel Obscurus. Thank you, Lavender Ghost. Thank you, Tommy Kelly. Thank you, Double Dearid. Thank you, Clodius. Thank you, Cyrus Flux. Thank you, Eric the Wizard. Thank you, Marcio Mendoza. Thank you, Archaic. Thank you, Sneaky Llama. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Malleus. Thank you, Coffin Emoji, Sparkle Emoji. Thank you, Eli Cash. Thank you, Deborah McPherson. Thank you, Rowan of Birch Groves. Thank you, me. Thank you, Incomes Clot. Thank you, the Frog from Chrono Trigger. And thank you, Eamon Knox.
Wasn't that something? That list gets longer every single time.
Oh man, and you are our absolute favorite people. It's because of you we get to do a goofy show like this, so thank you so much for supporting us.
And just the outcry of support that have come from the Jack Frostcast did numbers.
Well, numbers for us.
Yeah, well, it counts for us for numbers. It outperformed any podcast episode we've done. And the Kenneth Grant special didn't do bad at all either. It outperformed most of the other stuff too. But
yeah, and we got a lot of really good feedback from both of those.
A lot of nice words from people.
You guys should say stuff to us more often. You're really nice.
Mm-hmm. The love and support. And just if you've listened to this far, you're amazing.
I guess that's about it then, huh?
Yeah. Would you like the last word? Sprung it on you. You weren't ready for it.
So Arthur Young also has this way that 7 and 12 match up because 3 plus 4 is 7.
And if that 6 turned out to be 9, well, I don't mind. I don't mind.
I appreciate that you didn't make a 6-7 joke.
What's funny about that? I don't get it.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye. Hey, listener, I'm just letting you know because Kennedy left the room. It was all his fault. That's why that episode's gone. He fucked it up.
I didn't leave the room. I didn't even do anything.
It's all his fault. Blame him. Send him angry letters and messages and call him a big, stinky podcast boy.